It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined as always by Kevin McIntosh. Kevin, happy Friday. Glad to be with you.
Hey, what's going on, Tyler? Per usual, happy to be here. Another day, another opportunity to talk to the community, and we're feeling great. A lot of great energy. Let's get straight to it.
Yeah, plenty going on across the community to get to today. We'll tell you about some parties happening this weekend and fun events coming up ahead. Dream Cruise season in West Bloomfield, football season, and some new leadership in key positions with local law enforcement, including in the city of Keego Harbor. More of that coming up later on in the program. But as we get into this Friday and into the weekend, it is Dream Cruise weekend here in Oakland County. Plenty of people from across the state and really around the world coming in for the biggest classic car show in Michigan, up and down Woodward Avenue all weekend long. But the car show fun, the Dream Cruise season, really began last week right here in Greater West Bloomfield and happened all the way through Monday. We had Gino's car show on Monday, but even before that, car show season kicked off in Greater West Bloomfield with a look back through automotive history in our area. Reporter Jake Schaff has the story.
Car show season has officially made it to Michigan. A chance for automotive enthusiasts everywhere to take a look at some impressive classic vehicles and even showing off some of their own. But this time of year isn't just for highlighting those classic cars, but it's to showcase the history that comes with them, as the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society put together a car rally to showcase some very important pieces of automotive history that most people probably weren't aware of, providing a chance for everyone to learn just a little bit more about Michigan's extensive auto history.
The Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society's 50th anniversary is this year, and we're having a poker rally that visits 6 historic sites in the Greater West Bloomfield area. At each site, you pick up a poker card and come back, and the best 3 hands that are collected randomly will get trophies.
Go into a little detail on the rally today and what inspired this event.
Well, because it's the 50th anniversary of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, and they wanted to think of a unique way to bring history to the people, because there's a lot of history in West Bloomfield area, and there are in most communities, but around here we have a lot of automotive history. And this spot that we're in right now was owned by Leroy Pelletier, and he was Henry Ford's right-hand man in marketing, I believe. And he owned 100 acres or 300 acres all around this neighborhood, so he probably owned the whole neighborhood.
I do have some historical data in the family still, but to come out here and be exposed to this and find out more and more, every time I get involved with the Historic Society and they tell me more and more about my lineage and the history of the family and the history of the geography. It's very interesting, and the treat this time is I get to bring my wife and and her sister and my brother-in-law to show them, and I'm pretty proud of it, for one, and it's exciting. My dad was in the Air Force. They lived in Michigan. We moved around, so I wasn't really exposed a lot to him and stories that he might have told, or family history there. So what I did get, I got mostly from my dad, and which was good. We have a fair amount of pictures of Leroy with Henry Ford and stuff of that era. But yeah, I learn a lot every time. I learn more every time I come out here, and it's exposed to the Historic Society. I really appreciate what they do.
How great is it to see so many people coming out today sharing an interest in not only automotives, but history in general?
Oh, it's great. It's like you see people's faces light up when we start to tell them about some of the sites, and they recall hearing a little bit about it, but get to see the whole story.
So much history that I just found it amazing and a lot of fun to work on this, because I did not know half the stuff I've learned by being on this committee for this particular year. So next year, we'll probably do a poker rally again, and it'll be on a different subject, not on automotive. So I just think the community needs to know where they're living and what they're surrounded by.
It's always an incredible feeling to learn just how much history is right outside your window. So as Michigan gets ready for the Dream Cruise, maybe take your own cruise through history every once in a while to learn just what makes your community so special. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Plenty more fun events examining our local history and celebrating 50 years of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society can be found on gwbhs.org or on Facebook at GWBHS. And Kevin, it was a really fun time last weekend with the Historical Society's poker rally with the West Bloomfield High School Atomigators and their car show, and then even going into this week with Gino's car show, and now with the Woodward Dream Cruise coming up this weekend. Car culture taking over in Greater West Bloomfield and across Oakland County, and that's certainly going to be the case this weekend. So everybody drive safely, bring your patients with you if you're going to be out in the Woodward area for the Dream Cruise this weekend. Close to home here in the Greater West Bloomfield area, there's new leadership in place in the city of Keego Harbor. At their city council meeting this week, the council unanimously approved Detective Robert Barnes as their new interim chief of police. He was approved by council and sworn in last night at the city council meeting. He'll undergo some required training and then one final performance review in the coming months before that title will ultimately be removed if satisfactory from the council and from city manager Tammy Neeb. Detective Barnes has 22 years with the Keego Harbor Police Department, was named officer in charge earlier on this summer following the departure of longtime chief John Fitzgerald. There was an extensive search for a new chief. City manager Tammy Neeb said cost efficiency did play a role, but ultimately Bobby, as they call him in Keego Harbor, was the right person for the job.
Over the 4th of July weekend, Bobby stepped up to the plate. He showed what he could do for the city. I received nothing but praise from the Sheriff's Department for the interaction, the collaboration that he did with them. And at this point, he's been in the department 22 years, and I feel that rather than going to an outsider, I think that we should give Bobby the opportunity to be interim chief.
Very similar sentiment from many on the city council, some who have been longtime residents of Keego Harbor and some relatively new who have known Detective Barnes since the very day they moved in to the city. Here's what they had to say.
I don't think we have a better choice right now than Detective Barnes. He's 22 years here. He's been great for our community. He's always very hospitable. The community, I've heard nothing but positive feedback on this and the support for him. On behalf of the lakefront residents, this was the best, most organized law enforcement effort on the 4th of July we've had in many years.
I moved to Keego Harbor about 3 years ago, and I got to know all the officers right away. And every interaction I had with Detective Barnes before I became a city council member was always positive. He seems to be the ideal of what we hope for in our police officers, and I totally support what's been discussed here.
Besides the fact that he does his job and does it well, he is very good with our community. In a community the size of Keego Harbor, having a chief that is respected and loved by the community as much as Detective Barnes is really a critical piece within a community.
Nothing but praise for Detective Barnes as he was considered for the position as interim chief of police in Keego Harbor. Ultimately, it was a unanimous decision from the city council, those in attendance all voting affirmatively to name him the interim city manager, but the interim city chief of police. However, it's not official until he receives that big police badge. This is the moment, his wife pinning the badge on his lapel. The chief's badge now with longtime police officer and detective Robert Barnes of the Keego Harbor Police Department. Chief Barnes is the new city chief of police in Keego Harbor. You can keep up to date with everything happening with his department on Facebook at Keego Police. And among the people that had endorsed Detective Barnes to now become chief Robert Barnes in the city of Keego Harbor, one of the Keego lifers, so to speak. Gino Santia joins us now on the Splash Live to talk about this new appointment in the city of Keego Harbor. Gino, thank you for being with us as we recognize someone who's had a great role in our police department in Keego Harbor for a long time, and now that's getting recognized as he's named chief of police.
Yeah, I think through the 50 years or more that I've been here, I think I've known all the chiefs, and I've always had a great relationship with all of them, and Bobby will be no different, I'm sure.
And you had posted an endorsement for Detective Barnes, then Detective Barnes, back in July for him to take over as the chief of police because of his many years of experience and because he was already acting as the officer in charge for the police department. Among what you wrote in that letter, what do you believe makes Detective Barnes, now Chief Barnes, the perfect person for this job at this time?
Well, I know him personally, and he's a very calming person, but he's very businesslike too. He takes care of things the way they have to be done in a very well-mannered way, and I think he's a great choice for our interim chief, and I hope they find they can make him a permanent chief of police. I know he had some big shoes to fill with Chief Fitzgerald leaving, but I know Bobby will handle it just well.
Robert Barnes named the chief of police in the city of Keego Harbor. Gino Santia joins us on the Splash Live to talk about this appointment that happened on Thursday night at the Keego Harbor City Council meeting. Their council meeting for August was when they named Robert Barnes the official interim chief of police. And Gino, as it was said, he will have to undergo some additional training. There is going to be a grace period in there where they will review his work before potentially removing that interim title. But a lot of work went into finding a new police chief. You want someone with experience. You want someone that has a lot of police work behind them, but ultimately having someone familiar with the community. What does that bring to this job, and how has that been evident in our past police chiefs to make them even more effective in Keego?
Well, we are a small community, and people like to know who we are and who they are. And Bobby's always been very visible for everybody, and as well as the other officers. You see him coming through the neighborhoods or feeding doggy treats for the dogs and stopping to say hello to people. And Bobby's been a big part of that too. And I think the community really appreciates that. And I don't see it changing with Bob being the chief of police.
And as we've approached this decision being made, what's the conversation been like? I mean, you seem to have the pulse of Keego Harbor around many of the issues that affect the community. And chief of police, that position being filled with the right person, I would imagine, was something that a lot of people had on their mind in the past several weeks and couple months.
Well, you mentioned the letter that I wrote, and I posted it on Facebook. And I don't know if you had a chance to read some of the responses, but every response was nothing but a positive response to what I had said. And I was just speaking what his qualifications are and what he's done and how he's been part of the community. And I think he deserves this opportunity.
Yeah, plenty of people already providing their congratulations in the Keego Facebook group off of a video that Council Member Ross posted last night after the official naming of the interim city chief of police. All congratulations, all really great endorsements of now Chief Bobby Barnes in the city of Keego Harbor. Gino, as we see that video played on our screens here, what are your thoughts on this moment for Chief Barnes and how he probably feels at this moment being able to get this glowing endorsement from the city council and really from the entire city as he takes over this job?
Well, I think Bob's had the opportunity to work with some really good chiefs. We've had some wonderful chiefs of police here in our community, and I don't doubt that he's learned from them quite a bit, and he has all the tools to move forward and be just as good as the other ones.
And he's got, as you said, he's got some big shoes to fill, but he's got the credentials to do so, knows the city very well going forward. That's going to play a huge role in this. Gino, lastly, Councilmember Fletcher had mentioned the work that Detective Barnes did leading the department over the 4th of July weekend. being something that was really key in showing his ability to run this department. How important is it, especially on those big days of the year, like the Memorial Day Parade, like the 4th of July, that you have the right person leading the charge in your local police department in Keego?
Well, I think it's important that we protect our community and the residents in the community, especially the ones that live along the lake there. And that was a major concern through the years. It's been several years. And there was a couple of years ago, it was a major, major problem. And Bob reached out to, well, actually, we all reached out to Bob. What can we do to help? And we closed off our parking lot at the restaurant. And that deterred a lot of people from parking in our lot and walking over to the beach and stuff, as well as some of the other businesses too. We do have an ordinance in the community. There's no on-street parking, so they were stymied. And it was well controlled this year. They had the boats on the lake, which Keego's been part of, and Bobby did a great job of orchestrating the whole thing.
Yeah, that indeed, nothing but glowing reviews of what happened on 4th of July. A busy time in the city of Keego Harbor and a great test, and we saw so many other situations over the past couple months that have been led by Chief Barnes while he was officer in charge, or even just before the exit in the retirement of former Chief John Fitzgerald. Gino, any final thoughts for us as Chief Bobby Barnes begins his run as Chief of Police in Keego Harbor?
Well, I wish Bobby the best. I hope, and I think he'll do a great job, and I hope to see him soon.
Interim Chief Robert Barnes now in his position as the interim chief for the next 6 months or so before there'll be a review, and then given a positive review, that interim tag will be removed from his title. Gino, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tyler.
Glad to be joined, as always, by Gino Santia, the owner of Gino's Pizzeria and Restaurant in Keego Harbor, and someone that really does have the pulse on the city of Keego Harbor and the heart of the lakes. This is a big moment for the city of Keego Harbor after the last couple of chiefs being in place for a very long time, to bring somebody in that has been in that police department for many, many years, 22 years and counting of service, from then Detective Robert Barnes, now Chief Robert Barnes in the city of Keego Harbor. And Kevin, Gino made a really good point, and this is especially so for a city of Keego Harbor's size, and one where, you know, it's that classic small town feel. Everybody knows everybody, and everyone's looking out for everyone. To have a chief of police that has been there for well over 2 decades and knows everybody in the community, and really, as Gino described, gets to know everybody in the community as best as he can, that can only make that department more effective.
Yeah, and like you said, it matters that he has a lot of time there too. Not only does the community know him, they know him through, you know, the many years that he actually spent there. So, I think it just makes the transition that much easier. You know, it's not that we're losing, you know, one police chief, is that we're gaining someone that we actually already trust and love. So congratulations again to now interim police chief Robert Barnes again on the new position.
Yeah, I gotta start to get that repetition, calling him Chief Barnes. I'm so used to calling him Detective from all these years, being that go-to detective in Keego Harbor. And Joel Yoder, the Planning Commission chairperson, said last night part of why he thinks he's the perfect person to be the interim chief and hopefully eventually be the full-time official chief of police in Keego Harbor is because of his excellent detective work, the way that he approaches his work with vigor, and like it is the most important thing in his life. And it was so cool for me. I was at the city council meeting last night on the technological side for our broadcast, which we'll replay today, so you can see the full moment on Civic Center TV at 1 o'clock, and over the weekend beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning with our other meetings from this week. His family was all there last night. His wife was there, his sister came in, some extended family was also there. And a cool moment for me was his sister walks in, they're in the middle of the business end of making that appointment official, and she turns the corner. She doesn't know where she's going in the building just yet. She sees that there's something going on. She doesn't want to interrupt anything, and she turns to me and she says, "I'm here to see my brother get appointed." It was such a cool moment. And then to see the family, the embrace with her brother after he received the badge, his wife pinning the badge on him
Beautiful.
also. A beautiful moment in Keego Harbor and a momentous occasion for them. Congratulations, Chief Barnes and the city of Keego Harbor. They can now put that looking for a chief behind them and now having this new chief in place. And Kevin, they'll have another reason to celebrate tonight as they celebrate one final time for the summer with one of the premier events of this season, the Keego Harbor Block Party.
Yes, we are celebrating. You know, it's unfortunate that it's sad to go, but we are happy that we're celebrating the final Keego Harbor Block Party of summer 2024. Rose Sorter Park, 5:30, 8:30, right behind City Hall, as a matter of fact. We're enjoying live music performance by the Dudes Party Time Band. Please come out there and support and enjoy that. Of course, we're going to have food there. Food truck from Bueno Taco. Mwah! Loving it, enjoying it. Plus, they're going to see beautiful art from the very talented artist from Art Sale also. So that'll be on display. Find out more, everything you need to know on the Facebook, of course, KH Parks, Keego Harbor Parks, just on Facebook. Check it out.
Yeah, it should be a fun time out there tonight. Hopefully, we got some weather patterns coming in over the weekend. It's going to be a rainy and stormy weekend. We hope that holds off enough for them to have their full fun time in Keego Harbor at Rose Sorter Park tonight as we cap off the Keego Harbor block parties for the summer, once a month, all throughout the summer. But still, as you said, Kevin, plenty of fun ahead in the heart of the lakes all throughout the fall and the seasons ahead. KH Parks on Facebook, and get involved, KeegoHarbor.org for more information. I know that they're looking for some alternate members for the Parks and Rec Committee as well. So if you want to get involved in planning some of the events going forward and go a little bit more in depth in the city of Keego Harbor, that is a great way to do so. Now, Kevin, Fridays are often known at this time of the year for football here in our community, and everyone's excited to see the West Bloomfield Lakers get back on the gridiron in 2024 as they begin their campaign, not on a Friday, but rather on a Thursday, just under 2 weeks from today. It all starts at the Swamp at 7 p.m. when Chippewa Valley comes in. The Big Reds take on the Lakers at the Swamp to kick off the season. It's also family fun night, which only sets the scene that much more for a big season for the Lakers. Plenty to go into as we get ready for the football season and we go through the storylines of this team. So joining me will be my partner on all of our live broadcasts of Laker football all throughout the fall, Matt Gattoni, our West Bloomfield football color commentator, joining me on the Splash Live. Matt, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, and looking at that OA Media Day, it looked like Coach Hilbers was trying to send a message by bringing all of those trench players, specifically that offensive line, who is quite bulky, specifically looking at Jay Gardenhire, the transfer from DePaul, New Jersey. It's just very impressive, his size, 6'8". There's one thing that his coach in college, Deion Sanders, knows, is that you can't teach size or speed. Now, with Gardenhire, they have a little bit of size to go with that speed they have on offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how this West Bloomfield offense kind of adjusts to the changes that they have on offense.
Yeah, and there's some good news and some bad news, potentially, that goes along with this West Bloomfield team in 2024. They have lost a lot of talent. Arguably the greatest quarterback they've ever had in their program in Rick Nance, who, number one in single season career passing touchdowns, number two in career passing yards. He's graduated, he's gone. But they bring in Bo Jackson, who's a 2-year starter from Novi Detroit Catholic Central in his replacement. And they lose guys like Brandon Davis-Swain and Jameer Benjamin on the defensive side of the ball. But the good news there is this offense looks like it's going to be a lot of the same in 2024. They're bringing back a lot of talent.
Yeah, having those guys on offense, Elijah Durham, Cameron Flowers, and Josh Tate, really allows them to have that level of consistency that will, kind of allow them to build off of the momentum that they had at the end of the year last year. Especially considering Bo Jackson's experience as a starter already. You don't kind of have to have a new starter coming in who's never really started games in a serious situation before and have to get them acclimated to that. They should kind of really just have to have a 1 or 2 game scenario to where they kind of get used to playing together and then take off from there.
Yeah, Bo Jackson completing 51% of his passes on average over the past 2 seasons at Catholic Central, over 1,000 yards passing and 12 touchdowns in his first season, and then 752 yards and 5 touchdowns as a junior in the air. Going to have a lot of weapons on this offense with Flowers, the now Toledo commit, and Elijah Durham, who's starting to get the attention he deserves with offers from Wisconsin, Western Michigan, Toledo, and more. That 3-star senior who will likely be a 4-star by the time we get to the end of this season. On the other side of things, very young defense for the Lakers, especially in the trenches, losing a lot of that core on the defensive line.
Yeah, that's really where Tank Pittman's going to be huge this year for the Lakers. Kind of having that centerpiece right there as really one of the more experienced players on the defense is going to be huge. Really kind of allow them, as a rock, so to speak, just kind of hold everything down and ultimately try and change momentum when he can. Similar to what Brandon Davis-Swain meant to the defense.
Yeah, certainly. And you look at this defensive front, Tank Pittman, really the only starter from that D-line that is returning. Now, the good news with that is a lot of the younger players that were on the defensive side last year saw a lot of action in some of those blowout games. And with a lot of substitution in the playoffs in particular, getting some guys down the depth chart, some really significant experience during critical points of games throughout the season. And that's something that Coach Hilbers was really harping on at OAA Football Media Day as I talked to him, is the youth of this team can be a benefit. It's a benefit because they've seen a lot of action already and they have so much more development to move forward with this season. It could also be a drawback on the other side of that with the growing pains and with the strength of this schedule, Matt. Looking at the 2024 campaign, they begin on August 29th at home at the Swamp, Thursday night, family fun night, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM against the Chippewa Valley Big Reds, a team that went 9-3 last season. And their opponent's record last year, 71 wins, 31 losses. That's 69.6% of those games, ending in victories for these opponents. Every single week is going to be a challenge for the Lakers in 24.
Yeah, and similar to the Lakers, one thing that's kind of interesting, a lot of these teams also are having turnover at quarterback. Chippewa Valley and Birmingham Groves, both their first 2 games having turnover at that position. It's going to be interesting to see how all these teams adjust to these losses and new additions. And fortunately enough, the Lakers are at home for that first game to kind of really get used to it.
Yeah, the first couple games for the Lakers going to be very telling for this team, going up against Chippewa Valley, always a challenging squad to match up against, and then going up against Groves as well, a team that also made the playoffs. And then from there, you got a really challenging schedule. Rochester Adams, Southfield A&T, Clarkston, Lake Orion, and then an Oxford team that I'm expecting to make a big jump this year. A lot of juniors and seniors on that team. They had a lot of success on the offensive side of the ball against the Lakers in the rain on the big blue turf last season. Jack Hendricks is going to be a problem. Luke Johnson may be the best running back in the entirety of the OAA. And Matt, as we look at the official preseason coaches poll released on Friday, you're not going to be able to see it from here on the screen. Number 1 in the OAA red by the coaches, West Bloomfield, followed by Lake Orion, Clarkston, Oxford, and then Rochester Adams. As we get ready for that first game on August 29th, Matt, what are you hoping to see from the jump from this Lakers team that, again, veteran on offense, pretty young on defense?
Discipline, really. And that's one thing I know that Coach Hilbers is really going to coach up is discipline. Young defense, so you don't really want to see that many penalties, really see them not put themselves in bad situations, see them make those crucial stops on third down. In offense, you just don't want to see any turnovers. New quarterback, want to see just kind of him keep things level, not turn the ball over, and just keep the offense on schedule.
Guys, I'm expecting to make a big jump. Jaden Allos, excellent on defense late last season, locked down in the playoffs, pair of interceptions against Rochester Adams. And Jonathan Edison also on that defensive side had some big plays late in the season coming up on the depth chart. Look to also see maybe more of the running game get involved in 2024 with Josh Tate. Matt, anything else for us before we head off today and get ready for August 29th?
Yeah, just to pick up on that last thing you just said right there, Josh Tate is someone I'm really interested to see how he looks this year. He was phenomenal at the end of the season last year, specifically as a pass blocker. That's going to be interesting to see how it factors in with this offensive line. I feel that's just going to make the passing game even stronger, but I'm very intrigued with him as a runner this year to see how he's grown in the offseason.
Lakers kick off their football season August 29th, Thursday night, high school football action under the lights at the Swamp. Before all that, it's family fun night at 5 o'clock at West Bloomfield High School. Matt Gattoni, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to talk about the West Bloomfield Lakers as they are now under 2 weeks until the season begins, and it's going to be a tough campaign for them. We'll be with you all along the way from the start of the season to the finish, and hopefully a championship run that ends at Ford Field on Thanksgiving weekend. For full coverage, civiccentertv.com. Head over to our Facebook page and our YouTube page as well. Right now, you can get a full scope of the Oakland Activities Association, both our opponents in the red that we'll see all throughout the season and our crossover opponent in Southfield A&T that we'll see about midway through the season as well. Every team introduced, OAA Football Media Day available on demand. And of course, stay tuned on our website and all of our social media for This Week in Laker Football and live coverage of each and every West Bloomfield Lakers football game. We'll try to bring you all of them on TV, but if we're not able to do that, we'll at least do our best to get them on the radio and keep you up to date on the Lake Show all throughout the season as this tradition begins in the fall. Kevin, some traditions across our community coming to an end, and that includes some long-time volunteer work being done right here in our community.
Yes, after 45 years of serving Temple Israel, their current executive director is gearing up to retire. Temple Israel is actually hosting a celebration of David Tisdale event on Friday, August 23rd, to celebrate his incredible dedication to the congregation. So joining us live on The Splash to talk about his tenure there, we have Executive Director for Strategic Development at Temple Israel, David Tisdale. Thank you so much for being here, David.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, so just looking back, 45 years of service with Temple Israel. How does it feel? What are some things that stand out to you over the years?
Well, it feels great. It was 45 wonderful years, and I enjoyed every minute. I enjoyed the work that I did. I enjoyed the people that I worked with, and I'm leaving on a high note.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the best way to leave. Also, can you just talk about what it means to you personally to basically give back to the community in the way that you did over the years?
Well, that's how it started. My 45 years began as a volunteer, and I was originally on a committee. I taught religious school. My wife taught religious school. It was we joined the temple with our two small children, and it's been a great run for 45 years.
Yes, and I'm willing to bet it is, and I'm glad you mentioned family also. So we'll get into that just shortly. Join us right here on The Splash, Executive Director, Strategic Development, Temple Israel, David Tisdale. We appreciate you being here, just talking about his tenure there. I just want to talk about over time the development and how it evolved. Temple Israel has evolved over those 45 years. Can you just talk about how it has changed over those years?
Sure. When we opened up on Walnut Lake Road in 1980, we were a congregation of approximately about 1,500 families. We are now approximately 3,000 families. So we've experienced some significant growth over the past 45 years, attracting young families, multi-generations. We have many multi-generational families, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I mean, it's an amazing place.
So what role would you say your leadership has played in that evolution of Temple Israel?
I've always said that I was fortunate enough to work with wonderful people, number one, and number two, I was fortunate enough to have new people who came in who were very talented and knew what they were doing and could help effectuate the kind of programming and the kinds of things we wanted to do. I was fortunate to be surrounded by great people.
There you go. There you go. Makes things easier, right? Even though I understand there probably are some things that, that made it a little bit of a challenge, which I want to talk about. But with us right here live on The Splash, we have Executive Director of Strategic Development for Temple Israel, retiring after 45 years of service, David Tisdale. Like I said, I want to talk about maybe if there were any challenges. Can you just talk about some of the challenges that you may have faced over the 45 years and how you overcame those and how your team helped you?
Well, the challenges have been more or less, some of them were financial. You know, after 45 years, you go through a number of cycles where
Understood.
you know, the economy isn't what it was the year before, and so you get through it. We've been truly blessed by very dedicated and very philanthropic families, very charitably oriented people who step up when things need to be stepped up. And we've been blessed with those people, and they have helped us through those financial challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you can ask for. The people who really, you know, are dedicated and love Temple Israel and want to give back in a way, even through those tough times. And you know, you show that support that, you know, that you are there. I want to talk about your family like we just talked about before, just growing up under Temple Israel and your leadership also. How does it feel to have your legacy follow under your leadership and just have their involvement in Temple Israel also?
Our children grew up at Temple Israel. My oldest daughter is a lawyer, and she has been a tutor at Temple Israel, and a Hebrew tutor, and a bar and bat mitzvah tutor, and she's been very involved. In the picture that you're showing at the moment, the lower left, it happens to be my youngest daughter. She's one of the clergy at Temple Israel. So obviously she grew up and became as involved as we did. And my wife,
and I know you must be
been a family affair.
Must be proud too. Yes, and I know you must be proud too. And it's a beautiful picture. If you're watching on CivicCenterTV.com, you can see the picture that we're talking about right now. I also want to talk about, as you're preparing for retirement, what do you hope your legacy will be as you leave Temple Israel?
Well, I'm hoping that the things that I was able to help put into place made a significant impression on a long-lasting basis for families. I hope that that what I did will live on beyond me.
Ooh, yes. I can understand. And that's the perfect way to do it too. And then also set a perfect example for your successor, right? Do you have any advice for your successor?
No, it's all about relationships. You have to get to know the people, and the more you get to know the people, the greater relationship that you have with the families, you'll be successful, because they're all out there rooting for you to be successful.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Just stick with the people that support you and surround you with that love and just want you to be successful, just like you just explained. Don't want to hold you up too much more. We do appreciate you being here. How do you plan on just staying connected with Temple Israel, even in your retirement?
Oh, I always plan to be. You know, I'm there if they ever need me, and I'm hoping. We live close by. We attend services all the time. So my other than coming in every single day, I hope to still be at Temple Israel on occasion, and certainly for any kind of programming that we might do.
Love, passion, dedication, as just explained right there. Even after 45 years, still plan on being there and just giving your support the best way you do. And then last question before we let you go, and we definitely do appreciate your time. What's next for you? What's your next plan and goals in life?
No, I want to spend more time with my family, a little travel, a little more time with my grandchildren. And that's pretty much it. Want to stay active. Maybe volunteer someplace else.
There you go. A whole new chapter of life, but it keeps you alive, and family time, you can never go wrong with that. Completely understand and respect that. Once again, thank you for joining us. Executive Director, Strategic Development, Temple Israel David Tisdale, after 45 years of service, retiring. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, 45 years doing something that you love, something that started with volunteering, Tyler. I think that's what's more important and what stood out to me. But want to say again, congratulations to David Tisdale for all of his years of service and his commitment to Temple Israel and the community.
Yeah, really got involved there and became a family affair too now with Rabbi Jennifer Kaluzny being a member of the clergy, as he mentioned, his daughter, and bringing his community into that community and combining the two over these 45 years. And what I really took away from that, and I loved so much, was his final comment. You asked him what he wants to do going forward and beyond family time. He said, maybe I'll find another place to volunteer as well. 45 years that began with volunteer work, became a labor of love, and now he wants to continue to give back to the community in other places. What a great story from right here in Greater West Bloomfield over at Temple Israel. Close to home here in West Bloomfield Township, a little bit of controversy in the past few weeks connecting our community to Ann Arbor, where University of Michigan President Santa Ono declared his primary residency to be right here in our community. That sparked a little bit of controversy as he is contractually obligated to live out of the president's house on campus at U of M Ann Arbor. So joining us to clear the air on this situation and give us an update on what ultimately was found about whether or not his primary residence can be in West Bloomfield Township is our township assessor, Rob Scripture. Rob, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
I'm glad to have you on with us because this is an issue not only surrounding a public servant and a public figure, but really it surrounds the issue of primary residency. We know people like to live in our community, but also people like to come into our community and spend time here on their weekends or over the summer, beautiful times of the year. So let's start by just defining what primary residency really means.
Well, primary residence, what it means is it's your home that you occupy. It's your one true home. When you leave it, you intend on returning to it, and you can only have one to receive this exemption. This exemption really provides you a reduction in your property taxes. Specifically, it's a reduction to the school operating tax, the local school tax, and it's up to 18 mills, which is, if you put it in real dollars, it's for every $1,000 of taxable value, it's about $18. So it does add up.
And so ultimately at the crux of this issue was he has a house in West Bloomfield that he bought, and he and his family had bought, and he also is required contractually to live out of the president's residence on the campus of U of M Ann Arbor. He did live primarily in West Bloomfield while there was some construction on that property, and that was approved by the University of Michigan. So now owning a home in West Bloomfield, but being required to live in another home primarily because of your contractual obligation, I would imagine as you were looking into this issue that was probably at the core of what was being decided, whether or not that contractual obligation mandated that was his primary residence. So ultimately, when we look at this issue, what ultimately brought you to the decision that, looking into the details here, this is his primary residence right here in West Bloomfield?
So what's interesting about the principal residence exemption, it's an affidavit, it's a sworn affidavit that homeowners that own and occupy a property submit to the township. It's a state exemption, and they are stating that this is their primary residence. For example, we do have professionals here in West Bloomfield, such as firefighters, nurses, salesmen. They have a home here, but they are required to live elsewhere to work, and they may be away from homes, for an extended period of time, but they do intend on returning to their home here. This is something that the taxpayer is swearing is true when they submit this affidavit.
So then it's a matter in some ways of ownership too, because while, like you said, with the firefighter example, you may have a firefighter that lives in West Bloomfield but serves in another community. So they're spending a significant amount of time. They are on some days, and many days of their week, living in that community, but they own a home here in West Bloomfield, and they intend to go back to that when they're off duty. Is that ultimately what kind of was the benchmark being served in this situation. Santa Ono is the president of the University of Michigan, so he's living out of that house on that campus because it's a contractual obligation, but this is his house. This is his residence that, should he leave the University of Michigan, he would come back to.
One of the misconceptions is that the assessing department, and in fact, there is no department here at the township or even the state that tracks where everybody leaves to go to work every day and return. There's no log that does this. This is an exemption that is filed and claimed, and it's on the individual that claimed the exemption to claim it and to rescind it if it's not true. We do monitor occasionally. We do monitor for information for changes, such as like if this property does sell, we will look at the exemption to make sure it was removed. But for the most part, this is on the claimant to take care of.
So bringing that back to everyday residents in our community that are not in this specialized situation. No, they buy a home, they're moving into our community. When is the point where they should be declaring their home in West Bloomfield or even in another community under these regulations as their primary residence?
So the assessing department understands that the closing of a property is such a large investment, probably the biggest investment that most taxpayers have in their life. It's a daunting process, a lot of signatures. There are two forms that generally have to be reported to the township or the city that you live in, one of which is the principal residence exemption, the other one is a property transfer affidavit. It happens so quick, you're signing so many documents, but those are the two forms that generally they say bring it in as soon as you can or within 35 days because that's the deadline for the property transfer affidavit. The truth is that you need to submit it when you move in. When you just because you buy a home, you may have to do renovations, you might have to do repairs, you're not in that home. Once you are residing in that home is the right time to submit that form. There is a deadline of June 1st to get this exemption for the whole year. That's not to turn in the paperwork, that's the deadline to fill the qualifications for the principal residence exemption.
Rob Scripture is with us, the Township Assessor here in West Bloomfield Township. More information on primary residency or your home assessment can be found on wbtownship.org. And Rob, you mentioned it earlier on, Michigan law doesn't specify a certain period of time that you have to be living in a home for it to be declared a primary residence. I would imagine in the case of the primary residence exemption and maybe some other things that often will come across your desk, that can provide some ambiguity. And so how do you then interpret terms like occupancy or reside in assessments and ultimately in decisions being made by your department?
The good news is there is some guidance from the state. We do have these links on our website, and there's a 100-page document that the state of Michigan does provide not only the taxpayers, but to officials such as the assessor to review and see if the qualifications are being met. You are correct. There is a lot of gray area. There's a lot of circumstances for each individual PRE, but we do have to review the law as it's printed and interpreted.
More information again on all, and including the links to those documents on wbtownship.org. Rob Scripture is with us, the West Bloomfield Township Assessor, as we talk about this issue and connecting it to a recent story out of both West Bloomfield and Ann Arbor, where University of Michigan President Santa Ono is required to live out of the president's residence on campus in Ann Arbor, but also has a home here in West Bloomfield, declared that his primary residency, and that does have some tax implications. Rob, before we let you go, anything else that is on the docket over at the Assessor's Department that people in West Bloomfield should be keeping aware of at this time or at this time of the year?
Not at this time. In terms of the PRE or the principal residence exemption, I always encourage our residents to give us a call, to just have a basic discussion as to making sure that it's on your property. We do send assessment change notices and tax bills out, which state the principal residence exemption on your property. We are there to help. We are there to explain, and we're just a call away.
248-451-4830 4850 is the number for the assessing department directly, 248-451-4850. There's not gotcha work that goes into this. There's a lot that goes into this on the backside of things for both homeowners and for our township here in West Bloomfield. So get the help that you need, get the questions you need answered Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 4:30. Rob, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
As always, wbtownship.org as we clear a little bit of the air and the confusion surrounding this story, and hopefully a little bit of the controversy gets reduced as well as we take this from the township level and let the controversy be decided by the people of the University of Michigan and their leadership over there. Live, local, social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Still plenty to get into as we go forward, ways you can help our local environment in the days to come, some opportunities to meet some local celebrities and get some business advice, and plenty of fun things coming up in Greater West Bloomfield. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live. Bringing you stories and memories from West Bloomfield. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Hi, I'm Lauren Azuri, the Park Naturalist Supervisor for West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations to you, Civic Center TV, for hitting 1 million views on YouTube. We really appreciate your partnership in spreading nature education in a creative way in our community. I'm Lauren Azuri, proud to be 1 in a million.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Missed one of our live broadcasts or one of your local municipal meetings? Check it out online at civiccentertv.com. Every meeting, show, and interview on demand. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe, joined as always by Kevin McIntosh. Kevin, as we go forward next couple of days, next couple of weeks, some residents in West Bloomfield may want to keep an eye out on their faucet.
No, that's actually a great point that you brought up, because we just actually saw on the West Bloomfield Township Water Utilities Department Facebook page, just confirmed, actually, they said, quote, in the coming weeks, we will be flushing hydrants throughout the township. If you happen to experience rusty looking water, run the cold side of your lowest sink for 5 to 10 minutes. If it does not clear up, give them a call. So please make sure you do look out for your water. But I actually did confirm with Tim of West Bloomfield Township Water Department. He says it'll mainly affect people living in courts and cul-de-sacs. And he said, although it is rare that it will happen, he says it is still a possibility that it could happen, Tyler. So ultimately, if it does happen, make sure you call the West Bloomfield Water Utilities Department, 248-451-4780. And of course, you can go directly to the website, wbtownship.org, for more information.
Yeah, just something to keep an eye out for in our community. People will get concerned. They turn the faucet on and they get some brown, rusty water out of that. They're going to think, oh, no, is it my pipes? Is it a bad water system? Do we have an issue going on? When in doubt, let the water run for a little bit, see if it persists. If it does, then maybe that's something to look into. But want to keep you informed, especially if you live in a court or a cul-de-sac going forward, as the Water Utilities Department reported that. So thanks for that report, Kevin. On the other side, right next door to the Water Utilities Department, Department over at West Bloomfield Parks. They want to help our pollinators this season. That's all part of their Green Dream for the month of August, supporting our pollinators. That's bees and other insects that get sustenance from our local plant life, and then in the process provide that plant life with pollination that helps them to reproduce and sustain itself over the years and maintain our local wildlife. From their Facebook post introducing this Green Dream for the month of August, quote, not only are they responsible for helping over 80% of flowering plants to reproduce, but also we have pollinators to thank for 1/3 of the food that we eat, end quote. Here's how they suggest you help our pollinators as we head into the later portions of August and then into the fall, especially as the leaves start to fall on the ground. Instead of raking them up, putting them in a bag and throwing them in a landfill, just leave them. Leave them right there on your lawn. It's called leaf litter. And from their post, they said many pollinators actually live in that leaf litter. And then when the snow falls on the ground and it ultimately covers that leaf litter, it helps to provide some warmth. Those leaves provide warmth for these pollinators so that when they do emerge in the spring and the warmer seasons, they are healthy and they are vibrant and they can then go pollinate our plants, which then leads to those beautiful spring flowers right here in the greater West Bloomfield area. Great advice from our friends at West Bloomfield Parks. Kevin,
Nice.
more of that on wbparks.org and on Facebook at WB Parks.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, Tyler, it's good to know about, the ecosystem and bees and pollinators and how they help things like that. But I actually got stung by a bee this summer. So I'm not necessarily feeling too friendly towards bees right now, but I understand it. I do enjoy their byproducts such as honey. So yes, I understand they are important, and it's great to get information like this from WB Parks.
Hey, bees are workers, man. If they're hard at work, they don't want you bothering them. I'd sting someone too if they got in my way at work, but I don't have the ability to sting anybody. So plus I would create a hostile work environment. I'm not really about that, but we'll let the bees be the bees. They're the ones that are doing the hard work out in our ecosystem, and hopefully more support for them going forward. It's all learning opportunities, Kevin, from our friends at West Bloomfield Parks to our friends over at the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. A big day is ahead later on in the fall. That will be in October, Friday, October 11th at 11 a.m. Their Chamber Leadership Breakfast, which will again feature Fox 2 News' Roop Raj and Crane Communications CEO and President K.C. Crane, providing their advice on the state of our local business community, not only in West Bloomfield and the greater West Bloomfield area, but across Metro Detroit and around the country. How is technology affecting that? What other factors are playing into changes in our business landscape, and how our local small businesses can take advantage of that and also navigate a ever complicated system that we live here in economically here in the U.S. and around greater West Bloomfield. It's going to be a really fun event. We had it in full for you live a year ago. We'll have extensive coverage again coming up in October, but you can attend in person and do some networking, learn some of this information. It's $65 to attend for chamber members, $75 for non-chamber members, and you got a little bit over a month to get that registration in, but tickets will go fast. September 30th is the deadline with the event Friday, October 11th, 11 a.m. at Wabi Country Club in West Bloomfield. For more information and to register, westbloomfieldchamber.com or visit the Chamber's Facebook page at West Bloomfield CC. Kevin, a great way to learn from some local experts that do have the pulse on business and economics.
Oh, yeah. We always are about the growth and support of small businesses around here, just to make that clear, Tyler. Because first and foremost, that not only do they provide jobs, but they provide goods and services to our community. So it's only right that we support them in their growth with events and things like this.
Yeah, Roop and Casey have been incredibly supportive to the Chamber in past years and giving their time and their expertise as well. And so we'll continue our coverage of that as we get closer to it. We'll keep telling you more about it as we learn more. In the meantime, a great time, no better time really than now to get registered to attend that event and learn even more. Kevin, we've had such a fun week here in the greater West Bloomfield area. There's plenty more happening all throughout the weekend. We've talked about it all weekend long. All of that is on CivicCenterTV.com, on our Facebook page at Civic Center TV 15, and on YouTube at Civic Center TV. We got got to go. We're out of time. I want to thank our entire crew, Jake Schaff and Calvin Brown at Master Control. On his final day in post-production, Anthony Juba with us before he heads back to school. And, of course, alongside Kevin McIntosh, I'm Tyler Kieft. Thanks for tuning in to The Splash Live.